started going in his younger years. Always wished it would be his life.
Hey guys, so if you've been following our episodes, you would have seen earlier this spring when I opened the boat and I was resealing the front hatch, you would have seen that I noticed there was some rot in the deck. So basically I just resealed the hatch to get through the summer and it worked perfectly. Now I don't know if you can see behind me, but the leaves are changing. We're in October, so now I've got the task that I've been dreading for a while now. I have to repair the deck. So I called around a few shops, and I got quotes of like $20,000 to $25,000 to fix the deck rot. Now, they never came out and looked at the boat, but I told them, you know, the size of the boat and kind of the area that needed to be fixed, and those were the quotes I got, which of course, you know, screw that, that's way too expensive. So, you know, I watch quite a few boating channels as well, and you've got all kinds of people, you know, limited skill sets, limited experience, limited knowledge, and they're fixing their boats, and you kind of have to. If you were to pay someone to do everything to your boat, it would be way too expensive. So I researched it, and it looks like, again, I'm naive here, I think, but I'm also hopeful. It looks pretty simple. And what I mean by that is my deck is put together like a sandwich. You've got a bottom layer of fiberglass skin. Then you have epoxy to bond the wood coring to it. And then you have epoxy on top of that that bonds the top skin to it. And that's all it is. So we're not talking engine work, we're not talking metal work, we're talking basic fiberglass and carpentry, I guess. So that gives me the confidence that I could probably do this. So I have to, you know, I can't afford to drop 25 grand to have someone else do it. So yeah, so you guys are going to follow along and probably cringe with me, or maybe we'll learn something. You know, maybe it's going to be rewarding. It's one of those things where it's overwhelming to take on, but I'm hoping with lots of research and slow, methodical, thought-through approach, it can be done. So this is going to be either another big mistake in the long list of learning to be a boater, or a rewarding opportunity to take on the challenge and fix it. So anyways, let's go. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is map out where you think the rot is. You can do it a few different ways. What I did is I started with the easiest way first. I removed my hatches because that gives you a good idea as to where you're at. So if we look here, you can also see, you know, the composition of the boat. And like I said, you know, you can see that it's just your fiberglass skin on top, fiberglass skin on the bottom, and then you have your wood all around. So this hatch is perfect, at least it looks like it. And then we look over at this one, and this hatch looks fine as well. Okay, now we'll move to the front hatch, and that's where all the rot is. So I'll show you guys here if I can. You can see how rotten, and there's like holes. Like you can see, that's horrible. Like it's just rotten. So we know this is a good place to start. So now to see the extent of the rot, how far it moves out, I have this little wire rod here that I found somewhere, and I'm just going to stick it in the gap here, and we're going to just see how far it'll push through the rod. So watch this. See all the rot coming out? So that's how far it'll go in. That's how far the rod extends. So if I put it down here, the rod extends almost all the way out to the side. Okay? If we go to the front, look at how far that rod extends that way. That is scary. And then this way, put that in. It's out that far that way. And so this corner, before I got pecking at it, it didn't look too bad, but I've beaten it up now, and I'll show you why, because I just wanted to check. I put the rod into the good wood, and look at how far it goes back. Almost the whole rod goes in. So if we pull it out, that means the rod goes all the way up to at least here. Again, that's a little bit scary. And then the back, again, the whole rod goes in, which means it goes back to there. Okay, so now another trick is just use a hammer. And what you want to do is you want to tap your deck. And if it's solid, it should have a crisp tap. And if it is rotten, it should have a very dull thud. And I'll show you what I mean here. So let's do it here. Listen to this. Okay, so just before I start cutting up this boat, I just want to go over a few things that I researched. And I've cut this boat up, or I've separated it into 4 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's a reason for that. 2 reasons, really. Is I was told you want to do it in sections. Even though the core is rotten, if you try and cut it all off in one piece, you really lose all the rigidity of the deck, and that makes it tough to reach all the spots when you are fiberglassing in or epoxying in the core. So you want to do it in smaller, more manageable pieces, and you cut them out one at a time. Now this small section here is out of necessity because the distance from here to the edge of that hatch is like 48 inches, and my plywood I'm using is 48 inches wide. So my issue is, around this hatch I want to have at least 8 to 10 inches around this hatch with my plywood on either side, so that there's strength there. So in order to do that, I had to, create this small little section here, so that now it's the new section will start here, and it'll end at that next green line, which gives me lots of room and structure around the hatch. The other thing is, the edge obviously is right here. I originally taped it to here, but I moved it in another inch. You generally want probably 2 to 3 inches around all your edges. And what that does is it gives you room when you're fiberglassing in the seam and fairing it. It gives you room to feather it back to make it nice and clean. If you cut it right to the edge, it makes it a lot harder to do that stuff. So that's the reason for that. I don't think there's anything else. I guess we better get into it. Oh shit, this is gonna scare this is scaring the shit out of me, cutting my boat. Must be done. Whew. Well, there's the first section cut. No fatalities yet. Let's see if it'll come out. Now, what I'm hoping is, the good thing with my problem is this deck is so rotten that everything should lift right up. It should be really easy, I'm hoping, to clean out all the rot, because it'd be a lot harder if the wood was, there was a lot of good wood and it was still stuck to both sides, right? You gotta chisel it and pry it, but when it's as rotten as mine is, like mine is all like coffee grounds, I'm hoping everything just lifts right up. So let's see. It'd be a good sign. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Wow. Wow. This is soaked. It is soaking wet. Look at this stuff. It's not as rotten, or I thought it would be worse. I thought it would be more like coffee grounds. But like it is, you press on it and the water comes right out of it. It's like a sponge. Okay, but I didn't cut through the underlying fiberglass, so that's good. And oh, look at that. Oh man. You can't get any luckier than that. I cut it right where they stopped putting the core. So I put it on these boats, what is that? 3 inches, I guess, from the outside of the raised deck. That's where they start putting the core. I didn't know that, so that's just a nice stroke of luck. Let's hope that's a good omen of things to come. Wow, that is so lucky. Wow, okay, I'll show you guys what I mean. So, there you can see how bad it is. Just all destroyed, it's all wet. Like, let's see if this picks this up. Yeah, see the water coming out of that? That is soaked. But this is what I was talking about. So I cut it here. Where's a good... See, that's where they start putting the wood in. Pull that out. So that's perfect, and that's... So there's the edge. There's the edge. That's about an inch. And then this tape is 2 inches, or an inch each side. So that's 3 inches in from where they raise your deck up. So, the good news is, I've started the process. The process needed to be done. It went as good as it could. So let's keep going. Okay, it's time for reveal number 2. Let's see how this piece looks. Ah, cool. Look at that. So soft. It's like a rug. Wow. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. Just look at that. Absolutely destroyed. Like, this thing is rotten. Like this, it's all like a nice carpet. It's like shag carpet now to touch it. But look at how easy that's going to be to get rid of a lot of this, because it is so rotten. It's going to be easy. And over there we've got one spot of, looks like solid wood surrounded by rot. There's section number 2. Jesus. I think that's probably all I'm going to remove right now until I get the new plywood in place, so we get some rigidity back in the boat to work with. Here. This is so soaked, it looks like it's fungus, but it's just rotten balsa. And what I've been doing, you can see those areas are clear. The way it's so rotten, I'm using this. I'm using a shop vac, and it pretty well sucks all of this up, so there's no chiseling or anything, so it makes it real easy. There are some spots like this that's going to take a chisel. And another thing to think about, this corner right here, when I inspected it originally in the spring, it looked solid, but you can see it was the only solid part, and everything was behind it was rotten. So just a visual inspection through the hatches isn't really enough. I guess I would go to the hammer approach just to be sure, because that can be deceiving there. So anyways, watch this. I'm going to suck this stuff out.
Well, it's all for me grog, me jolly grog. It's all for me beer and tobacco. For I spent all me tin with the lassies drinking gin. Far across the western ocean I must wander. Now where are me boots, me noggin boots? They're all gone.
Okay, so most of the stuff, as you can see here, most of the stuff came up real easily with the shop vac and some scraping. But I have some stubborn wood here that's still relatively solid. So what I did was I basically took the grinder, so you can see there I cut a crisscross pattern in there, just being careful not to go through the under skin. And then what I'm going to use is my oscillator tool to get under it and break it all loose. And you could also use, you know, a pry bar and a hammer, but I'm anxious to try out my new oscillating tool. I bought it just for this project, so that's what I'm going to do next.
Where are me pants? me noggin pants. They're all gone for beer and tobacco. For the knees they are worn out, and the pockets are turned out, and the arse is looking out for better weather. And it's all for me grog, me jolly grog. It's all for me beer and tobacco. For I spent all me
So you can see how that oscillating tool made short work of that stubborn piece. So really happy I bought that. I bought a few brand new tools just to make this job easier. So the oscillating tool is perfect. The grinder, it's just a 4-inch grinder, has been perfect. Cordless with 2 rechargeable batteries, and I got a fast charger for them. So once one dies, the other one's charged in something like 30 minutes. And then I bought a small portable or orbital battery operated sander as well. So no, everything's working well so far, fingers crossed.
started going